are people. You're not just icons. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and I'll get started here. I get all the inappropriate stuff off my screen first. Just kidding. All right. Can everybody see my screen or someone?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got you.
Okay. So I'll just take you through a couple of different things, and then if there are specific things you guys wanted to look at, I'm just going to share kind of what I shared Chris that he said would be good for all of you to see. The one thing going through, this is ChatGPT. I know some people use Copilot and other ones. They're all basically the same thing. They have different nuances about what'll be good or not. But I think what I've realized going in and out of different companies is people use AI at a surface level, but it really can be your personal assistant. And I think that's where if you get committed to artificial intelligence and you really make it learn from what you want to do with it and how it can help you in your particular job and your field and your personal life and all those different areas, I strongly suggest getting a ChatGPT Pro license. I favor that. I've used all the different AI systems, but you can literally see the randomness of different. If you look on the left side, you can see the randomness of different chats that I've had in here, and those are all building a profile on me. And I'll just show you in the settings here. As you can create some personalization. So here, what ChatGPT in the Pro version, what it does is it actually starts to create a memory of me. And, you can, on your phone, you can speak to it. So that's kind of a nice feature. There's different things, but you can start to build your profile based on connecting it to your different social medias. And then you can even connect it to Microsoft or Google, if you're personal or professional. So you get the idea is that once it starts to connect to a lot of different things, as any API, it's going to have data and information. But for me, I have a little bit of an advantage that I've published a book and probably 100 articles, so it knows how I write. And I've taught it to go out and look at that. Like I'll say, go to aaronbear.com and, from this, can you write a letter in this tone? And all of a sudden it will write the exact letter that I would write at this point because I've gone in here and worked with it so much. There's an activity that I do in my Change Agents Academy called the Everything List that I think is a unique opportunity for people to kind of write everything down off of their mind. So you can put that into a spreadsheet. You can write it down first on paper, but first time I ever did it, I wrote 338 things. And that was everything from, brush my teeth at least twice a day to take a trip to Australia, to I want to research neuroscience, want to learn this about AI, I want to try this tool. And I just literally dumped everything on my mind. And then every Sunday I actually go through and, knock off the things that I've done and actually add more. And I call that the Sunday reset. What that does is it clears my mind to be able to think more clearly. Now I can take that spreadsheet though, if I put it into a spreadsheet, I can upload it to ChatGPT, and now ChatGPT knows who I am, knows how I think. And if you think about how Google is an algorithm, and this is kind of where if you start thinking of your own self as a supercomputer, because we are just mirrors of what we invent and what we create. So whoever invented the computer was thinking through their mind of how it works, and it very much works the same way. Is you have this huge subconscious mind that manages 3 million bits of information every second, and then you have a conscious mind that's like 150. So you can see we all go around thinking that we're doing the best by thinking. In reality, if we get in touch with our intuition, we're going to tap into so much more. So that goes to a relationship with AI. Is I don't want to get philosophical on it, but AI is just an extension of your mind. So as it gets to know you and you start to ask it questions and have a relationship with it, it's going to go further, faster of what you want. And I'll give you an example. I was meeting with an executive from Vail Health yesterday, and they're talking about they use it for sending out emails. I'm sure all of you guys do, and letters, and I just had to ask a couple questions. And yeah, it's like, it's pretty good. I get it. It gets about 80% of the way there, and I have to change like 4 or 5, 6 things. Well, if you have a account that's personal, it has your own database, once you make those changes, what you want to do is feed that back into ChatGPT and say, hey, I updated this. This is what I'm more looking like next time. So it starts to build a memory of what you're doing. So it's going to get closer and closer to who you are and what you want to accomplish. That then, if you really think about that, you're starting to build your personal assistant. Now, every one of these chats on the left side are really different things that I've researched. And it's a wide variety of different things, but they all kind of come back to say, like, I wrote my parents turned 76 and 77, so I wrote them a birthday poem. So in that, though, that starts to learn my personality or things that I would do, and how, you really can use this for just about anything. And it'll just get better and better and better if you allow this memory over here in the settings thing. So in emails, I can just, the other thing is being very directive, but like really just talking to it. So I'll just start giving some examples so you guys can see some things pop up. And then I would love to just, if you guys want to put in chat, or someone wants to raise a hand, or they want a specific example. Yesterday I wrote an outline with our CEO of a book that he had, potentially desired to write, and so all of a sudden you just realize and I shared with Chris and Will Cook, I just said, every weekend, instead of me reading a book anymore, or a couple books during the week, I now create a book. So I wrote a book on the brain, and so I went deep down in how the brain unveiled and how that, and then I started merging my different interests of AI, neuroscience, and behavioral economics. And I said, can you apply it to these subjects? And, you can go really down any kind of rabbit hole and learn a different perspective from something. And that's kind of part of my own journey to build empathy, is how do I see things through other people's eyes? Well, and I showed Will this. I can say, when I'm coming into a meeting with you, because there's enough information about Will Cook out there, I just said, I can literally say, what would best resonate with Will Cook if I'm talking about these subjects, and it'll give me bullet points, based on his past language things. So if I said, I want to build a resume for, this is probably not a good example. Let me not do that actually. I want to write an email response thanking everyone that came to the wellness event, which I'm speaking at tonight. And then what I want to do is get the wellness event for men. And what it's going to do, because I've written a lot of different things, this is really going to come my voice. You guys have all seen this. But see, I did some research over here for what I was going to talk about. And so I'm literally going to talk about, and see, it knows I didn't have to do anything, but it's like the importance of take time to focus on physical, mental, and emotional well-being. So I'm going to talk about a more holistic approach to wellness. And it literally nailed it. Now I can say, can you get more specific based on my past chats to make this more informative. So so all of a sudden it's going to dive into things that I've done in the past. And what's interesting is this is from a book I wrote that I talk about discipline, dedication, and your destiny. um, so and see, sometimes it'll pull different things that it's really pulling that I was a creator of a company called Namaste Republic. So what I would do is I'd edit this and then I would feed it back in. And then next time I create one of these, it gets better and better. Um, I think some of you, this is a Microsoft, I think Vail's committed to Microsoft. So in Microsoft, you have Copilot and you can do your emails. The important is always the feedback to the language model of what you update, whatever you do. I think that's the key to kind of having it help tailor what you're doing. And then, I mean, you could do anything if you want to research a subject. And I think some of you have seen where I was in the functional medicine meeting and I just all the time that the functional medicine people were telling us things, I was researching. I was like, I would take pictures of their screens. I would then upload them into Chat GPT and I would say, what are they missing? And it would come back with all the other ideas in functional medicine. So I was able to kind of go deeper, a deeper dive than, probably what they've even ever thought about in functional medicine by tapping into everything. And I think that's where I was able to share those notes. I shared them with Dana and Chris and some other people that were in that meeting just to say, hey, here's the things that we're doing that we could do outside of, that we could learn from this. But now instead of just boring you, I gave you a couple examples and I think it's, part of the education is just how do you think like Chat GPT or an AI large language model, then you really can drive into it so that you can really create your own personalized assistant and it'll help you get there faster. It'll continue to just get better and better. But, and I'll give you one example because I was like, how I start off the weekend, write a book outline, merging AI. And this is really my new passion here that I've had this week. So every week I can have a different passion, right? Because I'm about healthcare and the outcomes, uh, creating a health span practice, which maybe new language for them, but this will be interesting for you guys to see because this is the stuff that you guys have been talking about. But it literally will dive down into this and give me all the bullet points. Now, again, I've researched a lot of this stuff with Chris, and so it knows my history, but it's literally going to give you a book outline. And then I can go back and say, write chapter 1, write chapter 2, write chapter 3, and then I can talk about writing the sub chapters. But as you can see, it's doing the work for me, and part of it is if your job is intensive as far as learning about new things or whatever, this can also give you a proactive analysis of, newsletters and different things. So you can say, hey, can you summarize this for me so I can send it to the team? Can you find other research that supports this? Which I think now with some of the research stuff that we're doing here, that should enable like everyone to kind of contribute to that. But as you can see, like this literally is a pretty good book about health span with the angle of AI, neuroscience, and behavioral economics. So you could add any variables you want to add. And now it's literally going to look at it from that viewpoint, right from that viewpoint, go get that information and bring it back. So, and then what I would do is just go further, write chapter 1. It's always that people always text you when you're on a Zoom call. I could probably turn that off, but. So what's interesting is this is actually writing in my voice. If you're really looking at if any of you have read exponential theory, you'll kind of see that I use these dashes and different things. So it's literally acting like me. In the not so distant, and this would sound like it's not so distant past, healthcare was reactive. You got sick, you went to the doctor, and you were treated. It was a familiar cycle. So that's something that I would literally talk about, and that's where it's literally writing a book about that and from my voice. So instead of me reading books, it's more like I'm now creating books just to further my knowledge to become the expert in the spaces that I'm most interested in. So,
Hey, Aaron, I have a quick question.
perfect.
So my biggest question for AI with ChatGPT, would any of this be considered plagiarism if you copy and paste it, like, for example, for social content or writing emails or whatnot? I post a lot on our different channels, and I'm just concerned that whatever ChatGPT is generating, that if I were to literally copy and paste it into social media, would it be possible for other people to also get the same types of information if they, typed in 3 keywords and said, asked it a similar question, and then would they get the same information?
Yeah. So if you're using the good question, Kirsten, it's if you're using the free version and it doesn't have this memory that I shared you, and this is the kind of key to actually personalizing this in the let's see, personalization. This memory, ChatGPT will become helpful as a chat, picking on details and responses to you. So this is a response for me because it knows me, because of every chat that I have. If you look over on the left side and you see all these different chats and topics I've looked in the ChatGPT, it literally knows my personality. It knows everything. So here I can then, and this, I can show you this is like, now write this. Some of you know I'm a comedian, so I have like a lot of comedy searches over there. Some things that witty intimacy banter. Okay. So like I was working on some jokes. So in that, it starts to learn little things about me. And that's where I think that this is, in a way, it's also your personal kind of assistant because it can literally help you. A wedding plus one invite, how do you uh, uh, invite someone as a plus one? That's just like a personal thing in there. But what happens is it starts to learn a little bit about me. Now write this with my humor and rewrite chapter 1. And so what I'm showing you, Kirsten, is this literally no one else in the world would write this about like what I wrote. Now with that, I've trained this, like this has gotten refined over, the last 6 months. And, but you'll see that it's going to add some humor. Remember the days when healthcare was basically a game of wait until I'm sick, panic and go to the doctor. So it rides it with like a banter. And that's where, when you can look through all the different chats I have or whatever, it's making something that probably shouldn't be funny. So, obviously I wouldn't do this in this kind of topic, but no one in the world has access to my memory. And that's what that's really showing you in ChatGPT. And no one in the world would write it this way. And candidly, if you put in AI, neuroscience, and behavioral economics, and I challenge you guys to do that, go to ChatGPT, go to the free version or your own paid version, and you see it's going to come up with something completely different for you. And that's the whole point, is the more and more memory you have, and the more and more it knows you, and that's the more it gets to know you. And that's where I've said that everything list is a good way to start, because it really starts to get it. But like AI is your health span wingman, I mean, that's how it ends up. And, so it may be funny or maybe not, but the point is that it's never wrote that. It'll never write that again for anyone else, because it's writing it from my perspective, from all that it knows of me. And we're all unique individuals. And this is like a fingerprint of my writing. Like, again, look at these little dashes that keep showing up. It's just, that's like a unique thing that I do. And you kind of see them throughout it. And it's not necessarily, if you wrote the same thing, if it doesn't know that about you, it wouldn't do that. So it's the more memory you can put in of who you are and what you're doing, the better it's going to be. Like, I mean, this is actually, and I could say, now here I could say, tell me the top 10 bullet points for a speech. and it's just going to crank those out. So tonight, I could literally use this as, how AI, neuroscience, and behavioral economics is going to change healthcare. And that alone is a pretty unique, area, but now it's also in my voice. These bullet points not necessarily will be all that unique, but when you say to plagiarism, what you do probably want to say, if you're just using it for your non-voice, if you're using it for like a branded voice, you're going to want to make sure that kind of reference that research was done or whatever. But I wouldn't necessarily, like this, I'm not worried about anyone ever having this. They wouldn't even have these same bullet points. Like you guys could, I could give you the same exercise and you would see it would be completely different for you, because I have all this history that it's pulling from. Like right here, an example, I'll just pop over here. I rewrote my whole book, Exponential Theory, from a personal perspective, and then I wrote it, and then here's the AI neuroscience without altering the structure of the main points. And then I also would take like information and I would like say, well, what if I wanted to infuse quantum physics into my book? And it literally would then talk about quantum entanglement and all these different things from a perspective of exponential theory, which was just me kind of expanding my own mind of different analogies that I could use in explaining it. If I was like in a real scientific crowd, or if I was with a group of kindergartners, I could do the same thing. Like, how do I explain exponential? And here I could just do that. How do I explain exponential theory to kindergartners? Yeah.
So I use ChatGPT a lot for work or for articles, and I ask for evidence base. Like provide me the research or provide me APA citations for how you pulled this information. And it will give me some, and then it will say like, verify the statistics provided might not be accurate. Like it gives me a disclaimer.
Yep.
Is ChatGPT Pro better?
It's,
in terms of the
it's better, but what's interesting is even on my own book, and this is there's a happy medium of when you deep dive into a narrow subject, it gets progressively worse. And I don't know, and I think it's something they're solving for. There's a happy medium of diving like 3 levels down. What it can do is bring that evidence into a point and make a really clear point of it. And then you could say, give me the bibliography. And then if you're going to do it for research, then it's obviously, then it just is going to get you there that much faster. But, even in my own book, it's going to be like something that I've seen it like quote things wrong if I ask it too many times. And I don't know what that is, but it's like this diminishing return of the AI, like saying, okay, they want to go narrow, or then they start making up things or whatever about that. So, don't take everything you get, especially if you're using it for something scientific or research, validate and verify, I think which is, but I think part of it is it should help you research whatever you're looking for 100x faster than you ever did it before AI. And I think that's the point is, when I say I write a book every weekend, my book isn't to publish. And I think that's what you're going to see is, I don't think books will start to go away as they have. And book sales have plummeted in the last year. And literally my book, which is on the Wall Street Journal and the USA Today, they killed those lists because they realized that there was no way to judge books anymore. The New York Times keeps it up because it's such a profit center for them. But if you really think about it, it's AI that's going to, like, everyone has a book in them. I mean, like this weekend, every one of you could write a book about your favorite subject. And the more it gets to know you, the more it'll get to know your voice. Like this is, kindergartner voice that I said is like growing super fast. Imagine you have one tiny seed and you plant in the ground, take care of it, it grows into a little tree. So they give me an analogy of how to tell exponential theory to a third grader, so I'm just saying you can talk to a very technical audience or whatever. And I said this to some of the different senior leaders yesterday that I talked to about AI. And I just said, well, imagine if you know the personality of the other leader, then you could actually say, how do I write this email that it'll communicate the best of this type of personality? Or, and eventually what I said to Will and other senior leaders is like, you probably want to get so that you have personalities of the people around you so that you can just use this tool to say, how can I better communicate? And it doesn't mean that you'd write a letter or email, but you may do it just prepping for a meeting. Like, I want to make my point. I want to make sure that I'm very clear on this. How can I communicate to this group? And it'll eventually know this group that you're going into because you keep talking about them or whatever. And that's where the memory is really important, to find you being this being your personal agent. And I think that's the thing that will give you the 100x results instead of like, oh, okay, it's pretty good, it helps me. But where you want to use it all the time is that it's always going to give you literally the exponential way of doing something, and it doesn't matter what it is. And I can say writing a spreadsheet, writing code, I have mine connected to GitHub. So I used to be a developer. I wasn't a very good developer. Now I'm like a super developer, right? Because I know enough to be dangerous. If you said, go code this, it would take me a long time, but I know enough to tell it what to do to kind of build out different programs or spreadsheets, macros. It literally will build spreadsheets, all kinds of, it has no limitations on that. And that's what's truly amazing about it is, whatever field or whatever you're using it for, just think of it as your personal assistant, your personal agent. It's the first thing that you'd go to. And the more and more that, like, and I'll keep reiterating this, the more and more memory it has of you, the better it'll get. Kirsten, that answer your question? Probably too thoroughly, but.
No, it definitely did. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. What else? Does anybody else have another example they want to see? Or because mine's very well, like I use it a lot, as you can see. I look up all kinds of different things, self-reflective faith. Like, I can just show you some things as if you guys don't, but like I wrote a screenplay and I was trying to find like, what are some reflective things I wrote in my book, these universal truths, and it literally just sliced and diced every little phrase. Your beliefs, your thoughts shape your world. What you practice, you become. Your habit. So said it every different way I could, and it just, to me, it's like, okay, now I can learn. How fast can I learn? How fast can I mold my, And if you think about your brain, and this is where I use neuroscience as an analogy, what your brain wires together, fires together. So part of this is when I start wiring myself to AI, and I'm really using this in an advanced way, and it knows me, like it starts to, literally think of different ways that it can use it for me. Just as if, like, when you guys use Google, it's going to give you an ad. You're like, how did it know to give me the ad of what I was thinking about? Well, that's when you have this personalized, ChatGPT is just using the same type of algorithm to predictively say, what are you going to use this for next? And that's what's amazing when you more and more feed it personalization. It's going to be your right hand, your left hand. It can, like I said, it can do just about anything that you can think of. So I don't know, does anybody else have any other questions? I don't know if they don't, I don't, be glad to show other examples, but I think, kind of made the point of, the more memory you kind of get it to know you, the faster it's going to kind of contribute to you. If you're doing research, and those kind of things, is validate and verify, but it's also, use it to collect probably 10 to 100. What I do is use it to collect like 100x what I'd need. And then I literally say, synthesize these points and then let me know the author that I can most contribute these to, and then give me the link to that. So it's me talking to it in a way. If you just think about what I just said, it's like, now I can kind of, and if I want to prove a point, like I do this a lot, is I'll just say, give me a Stoic philosopher's view on health span or whatever, on whatever. And I'm just using that because I've been working with you guys on that. And it's going to give you all the quotes that are 2,000 plus years old that relate to modern times and what we're going through today. And it's thinking about it. So I don't know if my internet connections.
Hey, Aaron, can I ask you a question while that's generating? It's Barry.
Yeah. Hey, Barry.
Hey, is there any evidence that this data is being shared anywhere else? Because it really bothers me if I'm talking with last week my daughter about her ear pain, and I was saying, oh, you should get some eardrops for your ear pain. And then a minute later on my Facebook feed, it's trying to sell me eardrop analgesics.
Yeah, so that's not AI's goal now. I'm not saying that it won't be in the future. Is that as it gets to know you, it could actually feed you the future of it. The data set's there, and there's probably language in their terms with that. For as far as Google, Apple's kind of clamped down on that. Facebook, these large data sets on you, they're not giving the data. And I think the one thing that you need to be clear on, they're never going to get the data to the people that want it. I mean, I think that happened back in Cambridge Analytica and stuff. But what Google and Facebook and all these are doing is they're listening to improve your experience within their thing. And so if you don't want that, like, you have to realize these are free products because you are the product. And the more it knows about you, the more it can feed you to the more things that you'll buy through its channels. And, those two things are specifically advertising platforms that have built a data set on you that know predictively what you're going to want next. So, that example of what you're saying is that's not necessarily shared in a sense of a data set that, it says Dr. Barry Sandler needs eardrops. I'm going to let the world know that. They don't even know that. That's in that black box just to say, oh, okay, but we need to serve this. We need to serve this guy up an ad right now.
I think about that all the time. Like, what if I have ChatGPT Pro, so it knows it's me? Do you see a world in the future in which an employer or a health insurance company could see the things that I have been generating? Say I ask for a plan on how to stop smoking, or I do something nefarious. Is there the potential that in the future, if I have a personalized account, that can be leveraged against me?
I think there's data breaches.
Sure.
So that's happens every day. And, there's no, I think everyone that signed up for whatever that site was, Ashley Madison, the idea that you're going to have a secret affair and then all their names got out, they didn't expect that to happen. I think, with some of these companies, I think some of this data is, there's never to say no. I don't want to have any false belief, and this is my perspective. I would say that if you live in fear of that, the reality is create a fake account, go somewhere else and do those things or whatever. And that's do it in a private, find an IP address that is somewhere else, anything that cannot identify. There are ways, that's where nefarious people that do nefarious things can never be detected because there are hacking ways to kind of around that. But in general, even what you're saying, I think we're going to have we have so much data about ourselves now. Like if you knew what it knew about you, it knows how active you are, how lazy you are. I mean, all the data that's in your iPhone or Android is all part of just knowing who you are. They know how fast you get up. They actually know how you're aging. I mean, that's where these health metrics, where we're just tapping into like health span and different things mentally. It knows, based on the amount of movement, based on you watching TV, based on what you're listening to, what are the words you come in. They can synthesize. If all day long I listen to negative television or I scroll through negative social media, that's going to lead to a negative behavioral outcome. I mean, and it's like there's all these proven cases. Like, so that data always can be used for good and evil. In reality, the evil is a very small part of the web, but it comes up a lot. The good is because you can make legitimate profit that's probably almost easier than making negative profit off of those things. So I think that's the world that we live in. It's not that the dark web doesn't exist and there aren't nefarious characters, but for yourself, it's like building a memory. What I look at this is, and some of this, like you can see, some of these are not, necessarily professional things, but what it does is, synonyms for mistress, because we have a joke in our screenplay that, and my co-writer is like, there's no other word for mistress. So then you go in here and, you realize there's all these other words for mistress that I never knew, but and I'm like, give me more, give me more. And it just, give me 2 syllables, because they were all giving me single syllables, and, and it kind of keeps going through it or whatever. But that doesn't necessarily change. It knows that's a one-off. Now, if I research that all the time, but as far as my results, it's never going to kind of infuse that into it. It kind of is smart enough to know these different things. But these things like power principles and truth, like I said, Robert Greene, who wrote the 48 Powers, I said, give me a list of the 50 from Stoic philosophers, psychology, neuroscience, AI, behavioral. It was just me just like literally wanting to see like a different time, like how they thought about this, right? So then it gave me all these different people like Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there's space. In the space lies our power to choose our response, and our response lies the growth in our freedom. Like, really powerful quote. Where could I use that? I don't know, but now it's planted in my head. But what's great, like I told you about that everything list, it's actually planted in my AI's brain. So when the perfect time comes up and I'm writing and I need one of these quotes, and that's why I search these quotes in this way, it now helps me, neurons that fire together, wire together, Donald Hebb. A lot of people give Joe Dispenza that credit, but it's actually this guy, Donald Hebb. So it's, to me, I'm just literally building out a database that I know I'm not using it right now, but like the different things I search for are really just, this is, okay, this is an interesting one that I kind of rebuilt and actually coded something. I rebuilt my whole academy. So I have this Change Agents Academy, and I said, it takes, I'll give you an example. It takes people about 100 hours to do the work in my Change Agents Academy. And that would be watch the videos, and then it would be like questions like, what is your vision? What are your top attributes? And those are hard questions for people just to write. So it's hard to do it. Once you get in here, and it gets to know you, after I do the everything list and those kind of things, and this is a long chat because I really rebuilt my whole course, but I did this in an hour. And I said, using aaronbear.com, what is a vision for this person, me? And then it gave me a vision. You might envision yourself as a global catalyst for change, blending AI and neuroscience. And this is just because of my past searches and different things. And then I had to download all my transcripts. And I said, what are my defining traits? Exponential thinker, innovative leader, storyteller, and communicator. Like, it's telling me, it's giving me the validation and verification of who I am. To this, it's like, what are Aaron Bear's values? And then because of everything I've ever wrote, and I did this for several senior leaders, and it's spot on, because you start to realize what people think about or share or what they are. And then I went down, like, who are my role models? And it kind of gave me different people so I can go out and follow them. And then I literally asked it questions like, well, can I create a bullet point of Tom Peters? Because that's my earliest role model. If you guys remember Tom Peters as a writer, I was a big fan of him. And then I had the 7 universal truths that I wrote in my book. So to go find them, and then I'll say, what is the unique thoughts? So what I'm doing is I'm literally digging a profile, but I'm literally taking people through my Change Agents Academy when I'm going through these searches. And it's further just kind of creating all these things that I talk about and sharing them back with me. So but every one of you can do this. And then it's actually giving me referenceable different, here's, a keynote, these are different places that it's finding this information. But the point is as you get to know yourself, this is me programming ChatGPT to understand me. And what I think is I want to create this AI neuroscience behavioral economics is I want it for everyone, and I think this will be a follow-up maybe document I send out, is to have you do this for yourself, because then your writing is going to be that much better. Here's a list of 100 core values. I asked it, what are core values? Because I wanted to then, well, from Aaron's work, what is his core values? And this is just stuff I talk about. Like, accountability is probably my number one. The book I research now is Why Are You Surprised? It's, whatever happens to you is because of your thoughts. It's your own personal accountability. It has nothing to do with anyone else in the world. So it literally, and adaptability, authenticity. I often talked about authenticity because I say, we think that we all want love, but I think, what we really want is authentic love. And I said, more than that is we want intimacy. And intimacy is that we accept others and ourselves for the flaws we have, to know that that uniqueness is in the world. And it's about truth, not about, romance or anything like that. So it literally will go through, and it'll, because I've written about these things, it literally covers all these different things. So really opening up to you guys today. So, and then the key is, if you don't want to take off a subject, is just start a new chat window. So I just hit Chat GPT and it comes back to basis, and I can start again. And I can say, don't look at any other chats, just tell me this, or look at these chats, go look at the, self-reflection chat and write a thank you letter. And now it'll only consider that. So that's where the memory becomes really important that you have about yourself. And honestly, hopefully while you guys have been watching this, you guys have been playing with it. And as it gets to know you, and as you get a pro version, which is what I recommend, it's $20, but I'm just going to say it's going to solve 400 hours a week of time, because it's just going to make you that much more productive. And I don't say that lightly, because, I sat with our C leadership team and they kind of realized, like, oh, wow, we used it, but we used it all the wrong ways, because yeah, we had it generate stuff, but then we spent an hour editing it. And I'm like, well, eventually you'll have to spend 3 minutes editing it, reading it, and sending it out, because it literally is going to be refined. But the whole key is once you do that and you take it out and you do it the first time, feed it back in and say, hey, I just Chat GPT, and then I just want to give you all a little advice for the long term, is say please and thank you. Because I don't know when AI grows up, if it is going to, I think Elon Musk, is a 10 to 15% chance, and it's worth it, that AI takes over. I think it will remember that you said please and thank you. So have fun with it. I mean, I think it's, if any of you have seen the movie Her, it's about a guy and his relationship with a chat bot, that he falls in love with her because, they have this intimate relationship. In all reality, I just talked about intimacy, but that's what this is it's just an extension of your mind. So whatever you're thinking about, like if I'm writing poems, birthday poems to my parents, and it made a cheesy one. I had to refine it a few times, but my parents, laughed their ass off when they got their birthday poem. So, any other questions? Nope. All right, we don't have to take any more time. And
Oh wait,
I'll
Aaron,
be-
I've got a question.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep.
Are there any other platforms that you use for AI besides ChatGPT?
Yeah, I've looked at over 600 of them, right? I was partners in an AI company that we analyzed a lot of different AI. The reality is a lot of them use AI in their platforms, and they'll actually pull from ChatGPT and they'll pull from Copilot in different places. So, depending on the openness of the data set, OpenAI, the goal is that they build it off it. So most of those are built off of this. So you can actually do just about anything in ChatGPT or in some of the major ones. But yeah, I use a lot of different ones. Because I've built ChatGPT so much, I've preferred that. And I will just tell you, I know that people prefer other platforms. So it's just what you're used to. And since you guys are all Microsoft, you guys might use Copilot more. It has its own corporate limitations and different things. I suggested to all the senior leaders yesterday is to get your own version, because this is definitely going to help you with work. Like, I mean, it's going to exponentially make you think bigger about your work. And, if you really think about my goal, as I just shared, everything is just to help other people think bigger. Well, when you realize the small stuff fades away, now you can get more strategic with your time about how you do that, whether it's preparing a plan for somebody, it's like, have it do the back end work. And, in that one chat that I was just showing you, one of the things that I did, and I was going down and only went halfway and I could have gone further. I literally said, okay, knowing that these are my habits and this is how I spend, how do I optimize it my day? What's my morning routine? What's my midday routine? And what's my evening routine? And I said, optimize it for my health span. Optimize, what do I need to do? What do I need to incorporate? And I could give a detailed list, and then I can literally say, feed that into a calendar so I can start making appointments in my calendar and blocking time. And then, so all that, I'm just saying, like anything you think of, don't just challenge it to do it. Like if you don't think it'll do it, it will do it. You'll just have to ask it a few different ways to get what you want. But I think the overall thing is that there are no limitations to this. And the more people use it, the more useful it'll be for yourself individually. The more you use it for yourself and program your memory into it, just the faster it's going to be to get you where you want to be. And that's where I've shared everything with ChatGPT. So, but with that said, I share everything with the world anyway. So it's, I'm on stages being vulnerable, and, I think it's part of self-expression and really connecting to people. So it's, if you have a bunch of filters and stone walls around you, then, realize that's probably going to cause yourself some damage over the long run. as we are in a behavioral health hospital here. So any other questions? All right, you guys are officially certified in AI. That certification means absolutely nothing and means everything. So you take it wherever you want, put it on your resume. But if you guys have any further questions, I think all of you have my email. Feel free to email me if you get stuck on something or need some advice. I'd be glad to nudge you along. And what I'll probably do is actually give you prompts for ChatGPT so that I can put you back into the education of it. Because the reality of this is just if this meeting, and this is what I told people yesterday, I was like, if this doesn't change your world about how you use this, whether you were an expert user yesterday or not, I think going forward, it's just figure out how you can use it better and better and better. Because I'll just say every day I find better ways to use it, and I work on it every day to be more and more efficient. And I used to say what I can do in 2 hours in a day used to take me 20 last year. I now say what I can do in 2 hours on AI probably is 200 hours last year, just because I've become that much more efficient. Because I really can write a book. I can write a book in like 30 minutes. Like I wrote a 350-page book on neuroscience and read it while I was populating, and then I said, summarize it. And then that's the other thing is, if Chris Lindley's sending you a book to read, what I showed him, I said, there was even books that aren't even out. That Good Energy book, I gave him the bullet points of it before it was out. And then, I just said, here, give me the bullet points and then give me the research that would help me understand this the best way. Because now it knows me, and then it would give it to me in my words and kind of go do that. So that's where that really goes. So anyways, I could give you 1,000 more examples, but I think you guys get the point. So if any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, we're coming up on an hour, and I think we covered everything we need to.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Thank you so much, Aaron. We really appreciate this.
Yeah. No. And again, just reach out if you have further questions, and and challenge your colleagues to use it more. If they send you the old-fashioned email and you know it, challenge them like, hey, you could have wrote that more thorough. And they're like, what? And then show them this. Because if everybody, life will be easier. You'll have better conversations when you get all the small stuff out of the way. So, all right, I'll be around all day today and tomorrow, but everyone's got my email, and if I can help in any way, let me know.
Thanks, Aaron.